I have zero judgment about how you decorate your home for the holidays, what you do, or when you do it. For me personally, I don't like to decorate early for Christmas because I really love the autumn Thanksgiving aesthetic. I love the leaves and the pumpkins and the way that Thanksgiving feels. First disclaimer of this video, there's probably going to be many. When I'm talking about the American holiday of Thanksgiving, I am not talking about the false narrative that we were all taught in school, the really offensive retelling of our history when it comes to the indigenous people of this land and the origins of this country. I'm talking about the thing that we do in November when we gather with our friends and family and eat food. We used to have next door neighbors who every year for Thanksgiving, they would have this big metal barrel that they burned a fire in, and they would start that at like middle of the day and it would go all night long. They drank bourbon and sang songs and laughed. That was Thanksgiving, and I loved living next to that. I loved the smell of it, the sound of it, and just the feeling of it, that gathering feeling. And the limbs have started to become bare, but there's still leaves on the ground, and it's autumn, and it's so good. I love that feeling, and I don't want to rush it away. I want to really fully experience that before we move into the whole Advent and Christmas thing. My name is Lori-Lyn. You have stumbled upon the part of my YouTube channel where I just talk about things I love. I'm not selling you anything. There's no structure here. I just talk about things I love. I love movies. I love watching particular movies at particular times of the year. And today I'm talking about movies that I personally deem appropriate for Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving weekend. So remember that little speech I just gave about Christmas? I'm gonna start my Thanksgiving movie list with a movie that contradicts what I just said. Miracle on 34th Street. And I'm talking about the original one. Please do not mess with any revamping of this movie. Do not watch colorized versions of this or anything. Original black and white Miracle on 34th Street. The reason why I am including it in Thanksgiving movies is because it does start with the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which I used to love that parade. I mean, that parade used to be epic. It's not so good anymore, but it used to be great, and I always watched it on Thanksgiving Day. So this movie begins with the Macy's parade. It's centered around a Macy's Santa Claus. It's definitely a Christmas movie, but I'll allow it on Thanksgiving. It's such a sweet movie. Natalie Wood is so sweet and beautiful in it. It's good. It's a good movie. I'll allow it. We can start Thanksgiving with Miracle on 34th Street if you want. So a couple of movies that are actually about Thanksgiving or like based, they take place at Thanksgiving. Home for the Holidays and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Now, it's been a couple of years since I've seen either one of these movies. Especially Planes, Trains, and Automobiles has been quite a while since I've seen it. Home for the Holidays is a fantastic movie, in my opinion. Holly Hunter and Robert Downey Jr. and Bancroft. I love this movie. It's really good. It's emotionally wrenching, and that's why I haven't seen it lately. But there are some scenes in this movie, there are some moments in this movie that stick with you, and I think about them all the time. Performances are really good. It's just, highly recommend Home for the Holidays. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, obviously starring Steve Martin and John Candy, and it's good. Really good. Thanksgiving appropriate. All right, so we now have to move into another controversial part of this video, which is Woody Allen. Because my absolute favorite movie to watch Thanksgiving time or around Thanksgiving weekend is Hannah and Her Sisters. This brings up the whole issue of at what point does an artist's moral behavior, their personal behavior, become so egregious that we no longer engage with their art. And I think there's a big discussion to be had there. I mean, there is a big discussion to be had there. It's a discussion that people are having. I don't want to really get into that discussion right now for the purposes of this video, but I will say that I struggle with Woody Allen because things that he has done in his life are evident in his work. And so once you know what you know about him and then you look at his movies, it's just so clear and it's so there. Personally, I can no longer watch the movie Manhattan because it's sick. And in terms of film, is it a good film? Yeah, it's a great film. It boggles my mind. Like the last time that I watched it, I couldn't believe it got made. And I wondered, why did no one along this process read the script and say, you cannot do this? I don't know. Anyway, I won't watch Manhattan. If you still love Manhattan, that's fine. Hannah and Her Sisters, however, I won't give this movie up because it's so good and it feels so much like Thanksgiving to me. Woody Allen has a way, when he's good, when he's doing what he does, of making the character of New York both romantic and idealized and realistic. It feels like New York, but it feels like this fantasy New York, and I love it. I love being in Woody Allen's New York. This movie in particular, I love because of the performances of the women actors. When I was really young and I wanted to be an actor, this was a movie that I would go to again and again and again just to study the performances of these women, their chemistry, the way that they work together. Their performances deserve to be seen. This movie deserves to be seen because of their work. Hannah and Her Sisters. Along those same lines, in terms of like vibe, I like The Big Chill and St. Elmo's Fire this time of year. I don't think either one of those movies actually reference Thanksgiving. Big Chill does take place in the fall, I think. Yeah, it does. But both of those movies, I don't know, like they have this nostalgic autumn loss and regret, friendship feeling to me. Why do I associate loss and regret with Thanksgiving? I don't know, but I do. The Big Chill is just, it's The Big Chill. You know, it's the music, it's the relationship, it's the vibe. It's good. St. Elmo's Fire, I think, is sort of like The Big Chill for my generation. It's not as good of a movie, but something that you probably have already learned about me is I don't really care so much if a movie is a good movie or not. It's good if I like it. So both of those, I think, are good suggestions for the Thanksgiving weekend. You know, it just now occurs to me that doesn't Annie Hall also have a Thanksgiving scene? Don't they? They like go to Thanksgiving at Grammy Hall's house, or I don't know. Like maybe we should put Annie Hall on the list too. Speaking of New York City vibes, When Harry Met Sally, perfect Thanksgiving movie. It does end, like it goes through the holidays, right, at the end, but I'm just thinking about those scenes of like Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal walking through the leaves in the park. It's just beautiful autumn New York. Something about me that might surprise you is that I'm really, like, romantic comedy is not my go-to. I don't always really like romantic comedies, but I do think that there are some that are really great, and there was like a little era of them that were really good. Am I mistaken in thinking that Nora Ephron wrote this movie? Because I think she did, and she was such a good writer. And this movie's just good. It's like, it's superior to typical romantic comedies, I think. And Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan are great. Carrie Fisher is great. Well, we all know it. We all know this movie by heart. Really nice feeling for Thanksgiving weekend. The movie that I wish that I could recommend that you watch, I have not been able to find it streaming anywhere. Like, as far as I know, it's not possible to watch online, and that's Alice's Restaurant. Alice's Restaurant. I will tell you this. During my time when I lived in New York, which obviously, if you pay attention to the list of the movies that I've just listed, I really associate Thanksgiving with New York, and so do a lot of other people apparently. But during the times that I lived there, I can tell you 3 significant Thanksgiving memories. One is the year that I went to the parade. I was living in Brooklyn at that time, and I got up really early, like super early, and took the subway into the city, and I went to Columbus Circle, and I got some hot chocolate, and I stood in the big crowd of people for hours because you had to get there really early so that you could get a space to see. It was cold, and the atmosphere was so fun, and we were all just so happy, and just the feeling in the crowd was great, and like everything that would come by. I remember Stevie Wonder was on a float that year, and just everything that would come by, everybody would cheer and yell for that thing, and it was great. It was very, very fun to do that. The second is when, during my latter years of living in the city, when I was actually living in the suburbs, and there was a little bar, like a kind of a, I don't know that I would go so far as to call it a dive bar, but it was a little bar on kind of the main drag of this tiny suburb town that I lived in. And the night before Thanksgiving night, and then the day after Thanksgiving, and I know this because one year I hosted Thanksgiving instead of going home. I hosted my family with me. That bar would be filled with young people who had come home for the Thanksgiving holiday. And it just had this completely different atmosphere, and this, reunion kind of atmosphere. And so that's a memory that I have. And one year, a friend of mine took me to Carnegie Hall to see Arlo Guthrie perform at Carnegie Hall on his Thanksgiving Day concert. And that was so fantastic. I just loved that experience. I loved seeing him, and hearing him sing Alice's Restaurant, and all of Carnegie Hall singing along with Alice's Restaurant. And so that's a great Thanksgiving memory in New York that I have as well. So that's it. Those are my suggestions for movies for Thanksgiving. If you have movies that you like to watch this time of year, or movies that really feel like fall to you, put them in the comments. I would be interested to see what you watch this year. Have a great holiday, however you do or do not celebrate this weekend. I hope, even if you're not celebrating, you at least eat some delicious food. Thanks for being here. You can find me at Lori-Lyn.com. I love to talk about things I love.